Welcome aboard, astral travelers, adventurers, and wayfarers to the Astral Tourist, the podcast that takes you beyond the limits of the physical world. I'm your guide, the Astral Tourist, or Starry if you prefer. Some people call me Starry online. And today we are embarking on several unexpected detours. Let's fly. These are all astral projections from the morning of April 5th, 2025. Usually I don't sleep in the morning. I had already gotten up, been doing some things, but I was also integrating a lot of energy work I've been doing, and I just had this wave of fatigue come over me, so I decided to lay down. So these are all between 2 hours in the morning of April 5th, from around 8 to 10 a.m. Also, the reason I was able to have so many was because of all this energy work I've been doing with the power grounding. So in this first one, I call it the Underground Bus Ride Detour. When I became lucid, I found myself sitting on a bus, but this wasn't any ordinary bus. It was traveling deep through dark, narrow caves, the kind that seemed to stretch on forever. It felt as if it were pulling me deeper into an unknown place. The flickering lights above cast strange shifting shadows on the passengers, making everything feel eerie and distorted. Then I realized I wasn't just lucid. I was in the astral plane. As the realization settled in, I began scanning the area with 360-degree vision when something odd caught my eye. Tucked into the seat in front of me were some checks, already made out to someone in cursive writing. I couldn't make out the names or amounts, but they seemed so out of place, like they had been abandoned. And I was wondering, how maybe I was going to be able to get these checks to whoever they were supposed to get to, or maybe there's a lost and found. A woman sitting beside me casually turned to me. I felt her energy move, and she turned to me. And this is the first I knew there was somebody even sitting beside me. I'm still getting anchored into this astral area. She's turning. I felt it. And so I looked at her, and she said directly to my face, my astral face, whatever that looked like. And I remember she had brown hair. "Leave them there. My boyfriend will come back for them in the morning." Her calmness made it sound like this was just part of her daily routine. I couldn't help but feel protective of her and reminded her items in the astral can degrade. She nodded without hesitation, clearly aware of that. There was something about her nonchalance that stuck with me, but I figured the checks were her business after all. I continued scanning my surroundings as the bus wound its way through the caves, making occasional stops. But these weren't your typical bus stops. At each one, passengers exited through what looked like round 3D portals, bubbles or spheres, shimmering with a soft glow. Instead of regular doors or windows to their worlds, these were pure floating orbs. Through these spheres, I could catch glimpses of their destinations, like snapshots of different realities or timelines. Most of the stops seemed to lead to various houses, each set at different times of day, though a few revealed cityscapes. I couldn't quite tell which cities they were. It felt like I was watching each passenger step into a snow globe, minus the snow. I was on some kind of astral bus or subway, of course, but why was it traveling through underground caves and caverns? I don't remember much more as I woke up shortly after. Perhaps I reached my stop, or maybe I simply faded out of the astral and back into my physical body. I didn't have the feeling like I had gone far from my body, so that's why it kind of felt like a fading to me, and rather than like a pullback. The passengers around me seemed completely detached from their journeys as they stepped into their respective portals. The whole ride felt strangely peaceful and deeply curious. Sometimes the greatest discoveries don't come from the places we plan to go, but from the detours and unexpected stops along the way. It would be just like me to hop on an astral bus with no destination of my own, simply to see where it would take me and, to meet other people. For this next one, I briefly woke up, but I did not use the wake back to bed method. I was just briefly awake and then suddenly asleep again, and I felt like my astral body was rushing out again. I phased spontaneously, as I sometimes do in the astral, often, and found myself in a familiar place, yet something was off. I was in a version of one of my childhood homes, but everything felt slightly different. The atmosphere was warm, and I could feel the bright sun shining through the windows. The time was clearly afternoon. As I looked around, I saw my mother standing before me, or I guess more floating, But something was wrong. Even though she looked just like her, there was an unmistakable difference in her presence of being. The presence of beingness. It just really comes through in the astral immediately. The personality wasn't hers at all. It's a strange feeling encountering a doppelganger, which is someone who looks like a person you know, but feels entirely different like this. I could sense it instantly, and this has been the same whenever I've encountered other doppelgangers, even my own. They just feel so different from me, even though they look very similar, or, they might have a different haircut or something, but the personalities have been so varied. My younger sister's doppelganger was also there, adding to the oddness of the moment. So there I am. I wasn't sure why I had been called there, and maybe this next part is part of that. I'm thinking maybe somebody called me there for something. So it was then I noticed an entirely different figure standing off to the side. A young man, no older than around 20, wearing 1970s attire. He had long wavy hair and a colorful hippie van parked nearby, which he was very eager to point out to me. He was very proud of his van. He looked like he had stepped out of another time, one even further back than the one we were in. Like he felt out of place in this space as well. So I wasn't the only one feeling a bit off there. I could feel his unease a little bit. But he floated closer to me with a relaxed, almost cryptic vibe, like he was going to maybe ask me something I didn't know. And he said, "A friend of mine asked me to come give you some advice." So I was curious, wondering what kind of wisdom he might impart from this mysterious friend. But then he shrugged with a smile and added, "But honestly, I don't really have any for you." So I'm thinking that's why the cryptic vibe there, he wasn't sure what he could tell me that I didn't already know or something like that. I couldn't help but laugh. I guess his wisdom from the 1970s would have been lost on me anyway. The absurdity of it all was oddly amusing in its randomness, too. It was like, oh, okay. Overall, it was a strange, peaceful experience, one that left me pondering the curious nature of doppelgangers, time, and the sometimes playful unpredictability of the astral world. So I wonder who thought I needed some advice, but it turns out I didn't really need it. I don't know. So for this third one, I did use the wake back to bed method. I actually woke up and got up. I found myself, after I did all that, I found myself exploring the area near my home, which has been set as my target locale for exits. I floated along a tranquil astral version of the nearby lake. Usually my target locale is to be right out over the lake flying, but this time I arrived right in front of it, and I was taking in the view. The water was perfectly still, which it never really is here in the physical world. Actually, it's been windy here. It was evening in the astral there, but the sky was beginning to shift toward the soft muted tones of pre-dawn. I took off flying northward over a stretch of dense woods when I spotted a pair of eagles perching on their nest nestled high in the trees. So I was seeing them from high above. So I floated on down lower for a closer look. Then I noticed something even more heartwarming. I bet you can already guess. You already know. 2 cute, fluffy eagle babies up close. I could cry just thinking about them right now. Oh my gosh. It's not the same as looking through a camera, and in the astral, you get all these other vibes and things from the animals. I was very careful not to disturb them, and I kept my distance, like a few feet away. And however, the eagles seemed completely unaware of my presence. That was just so precious. Oh my gosh. Continuing my journey northward towards the vast expanse of Canada, I saw something far more unusual. Here it is. A series of triangle-shaped UFOs appeared in the sky. So they didn't just appear in front of me. I was coming up north over the woods, and I could see a city in the distance. I'm thinking it was Montreal, but I'm not 100% sure. And I was coming in really fast, and I could see them as I was coming in. There were some formations to the right, and actually 2 formations to the left and 1 to the right. Their shapes glowing with bright white lights. They flew in perfect formations, moving in unison. I saw 3 separate groups of them. One group of 5, another of 7, and the largest was 10. And the one with 10 was the one off to the right, and it was further back. And so I was able to slow down enough to try and count. Now, I might have gotten something wrong by 1 here or there, but that's the best I could do on the counting of them. They seemed completely unaware of my presence as they patrolled the area. So I was moving back a ways from them on purpose so I could observe, and they really looked like they were out patrolling, in a security kind of way. I don't know, maybe just looking around. I didn't get any thoughts from them. So as I observed the UFOs, it became clear they weren't just any ordinary craft. Each was jet black with a triangular shape and several small blinking white lights scattered along their flat bodies and edges. I mainly noticed the lights along the flat bodies, but when I zoomed in on the edges, they did have lights there too, although they didn't actually seem more prominent than the ones across the bodies of them. They resembled the reported manta ray-shaped UFOs, though these were smaller, perhaps more akin to the TR-3Bs, well known for their smooth angular design and glowing lights along their surfaces. Now, I did not see any of the red lights people have reported on these at all. I was only seeing the glowing white lights. Despite their size and presence, I heard no sound from any of them. However, keep in mind, my sense of hearing isn't always the most reliable in the astral. I also felt no vibrations emanating from the crafts, though I had pulled back a ways, and it's possible I just wasn't close enough to sense the vibes, if there were any, and I wasn't about to push my luck. And the lights were glowing. They weren't all static or anything, and that's also been reported with these types of crafts. So that's what I saw. That's the sighting. 3 groups. I've described them as best as I can. That's all I have for now. This next one is busy astral hub area and the test of perception. I found myself in a bustling astral hub, a place teeming with energy and travelers from various realms passing through on their way to different destinations. In the midst of the activity, someone mentioned a nearby building where Gregorian monks were supposedly creating powerful vibrations that resonated through the very fabric of the astral plane. What a tease. Intrigued, I decided to check it out. I made my way to the building, curious to experience these vibrations for myself. As I opened the door, I was greeted by an unexpected sight. The room inside was completely empty. There was no floor, just a vast, dark pit stretching far below. At first glance, it appeared to be nothing but an endless void. As I peered further into the depths, I could just barely make out sharp rocks far below, almost impossible to see unless you were paying very close attention. It was an eerie and unsettling sight. There were no monks, no vibrations, only the quiet empty space, kind of wanting to lull you in, so you have to already know not to go in and look around first, right? Sensing that something was off, I immediately warned a few nearby travelers not to enter. The room's appearance felt like a potential pain test, a trap set to challenge anyone brave or foolish enough to step in. The rocks, so distant and hidden from plain view, could easily have been overlooked by anyone who didn't take a careful look around. If someone had ventured inside, they could have been caught off guard and found themselves facing some very sharp edges. It was a strange test of perception. Could they see the danger before stepping into it? I began warning everyone in the area. I tried to put like a big red X on the doors. I don't know if it actually got there. I wasn't seeing very well. And I decided to leave it at that, sensing that whatever lay within that pit wasn't meant for me. The empty, menacing room lingered as a reminder that not everything in the astral is as it seems, and some places are better left unexplored. Also, it seems like I keep encountering these various tests-like areas lately, and I'm getting pretty tired of it. The next astral journey took a more structured form. I was in a hallway filled with many white doors with the large golden knockers and handles. I decided to request to meet my spirit guide, being that I was getting pretty impatient with all these tests. I was feeling pretty curious. With everything going on lately, I thought it would be a good idea to just check in. A good tip to remember is that when you use portals, you can use a door sometimes. You don't have to just request a portal and then look around for it, which is actually my usual way. But since the doors were there, you can use them as a portal. So I made my request and excitedly opened one of the doors. To my dismay, there was just a dark, mysterious pit of a void. Ongoing theme here, maybe? I decided to not be put off and jumped on in. Even though it had looked like it went on to forever, I was only falling for less than maybe 10 seconds. Also, I hadn't picked up on any sharp rocks or anything when I peeked in there. And I had requested a spirit guide, so I was ready to at least find out what's going on. I appeared in a smallish cavern. There was a blonde-haired man with a bushy mustache and beard that looked like he was sleeping while standing up. At first I thought he might be a statue. I touched him and said hello anyway. He woke up immediately and shape-shifted into a not very good version of my late husband. I telepathed that he didn't have to bother with all that, with finding a familiar form for me to interact with, and I just wanted to connect with my spirit guide. I didn't really care what he looked like. I figured he couldn't be it, and I was correct. Perhaps he was an assistant? Your guess is as good as mine. Another door appeared. He went on through it. Another man came back out, dressed in a white glowing robe. He looked right at me and said, "No, not now," and evaporated right in front of me. He didn't even bother to use the door he'd come through. I couldn't help but be a bit disappointed. Other times when I've asked for a guide, they've been super helpful. Sometimes I get one like this one that won't even bother with me. I should have asked for my angel instead, I think. Maybe it's a test of patience. I'm calling this next one Trippy VR Test of Fear with an Odd Gadget. So yes, more tests in store for me. As I journeyed through this particular ethereal realm, I found myself immersed in a virtual reality-like test. A series of strange creatures awaited me, each designed to challenge my mind. Armed with a gadget that shot water, acid, and other elements, I was tasked with confronting these beings, each one symbolizing a different fear or inner challenge. The goal was simple: could any of them provoke a genuine fear response? This began out in a jungle-type area with various creatures, and as you worked your way through the area, as I did, I came to this large building that had a big line of people, and they're all moving through the building, and inside the building, the things became even worse, like zombies and shadow-type men, demons, all these different things with lots of teeth and moving in different ways. So again, like with agility is a factor sometimes, and ability to plan ahead and know when to press the button on this gadget. So there were a lot of things actually involved with the whole process. And I did my best to remain unaffected, but over time the test began to lose its luster, let's say. The challenges felt repetitive and my attention waned. One got a little too close to me and I realized my attention was waning mainly because I was really bored and just tired of being tested. It wasn't because I couldn't deal with the thing. I was just feeling done, I decided it was time to leave. As I turned to retrace my steps, a man appeared behind me with calm assurance. He explained that a large crowd was waiting outside, which I already knew because I'd been through it. And it would be easier to simply zoom through to the end of the building. His suggestion was clear: skip the struggles and glide toward the goal right over there at the end of the building. Just go fast. I like that, go fast. Together, we swiftly navigated across, and he returned to his place in line. This happened so fast. We both zoomed over there, so he was guiding me so that I would know exactly where the exit was. Then he went right back, and I was done. At least I didn't hold the others up somehow by going, back through everybody to get out through the front entrance there. I'm left wondering what all these tests are really about. My astral experiences have sometimes involved strange and challenging tests, each designed to probe different aspects of perception and fear, whether it's avoiding hidden dangers in the astral hub area or confronting fears in the VR-like trials. These experiences push me to see beyond the surface and stay calm in the unknown. And remember, if you get in a situation like this, you can always just wake yourself up or just be done and zoom on out of there. The astral realm seems to be asking lately, if it could ask a question: can you transcend your fears and embrace what's unseen? It's a place where not everything is what it first appears to be, especially in situations like this. And just like that, we've reached the end of today's episode. Whether you found yourself on an eerie underground bus ride, encountered a strange man with a van from the 70s, took some trippy tests, or flew alongside UFOs, I hope to have sparked a little curiosity and wonder. If I did, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support means so much. Thank you all so very much. Keep your passport to the cosmos in hand. Happy astral travels.